Right, Jay, let's get straight into it. Let's chat about Dan Hillier and Kazuma Kobori, who've just finished up on the DP World Tour, both making it to the tour-ending championship. Dan just missing out on his PGA Tour card by potentially one shot if you look back over the course of the year. And Kazuma probably didn't expect it himself, making it all the way to the Tour Championship. So pretty good year for both of them.
Yeah, must be bittersweet, for Dan, I guess, being so close. And certainly the back half of the year, I reckon he proved that he was probably proved maybe to himself a little bit, but also to everyone else that he is right up there with the best. I mean, it seemed like the last probably 3 months, he was in contention almost every week. And, even with the big fields, the strong players coming back for those big events at the end of the year, he still managed to do really well. I reckon playing with Rory on Saturday would have been wicked, but I'm not sure that would have helped.
But that cost him, you think?
Yeah, far out. I mean, you're trying to play your trade, which there's enough pressure on as it is with that week, trying to get your tour card. And then you add a layer of you're playing with one of the greatest players of all time. For the first time you've played with him, someone that you look up to. And you know that there's going to be, I don't know, you know that he's not worried about you and he's playing his own game. But it'd be like, trying to do a podcast in front of Joe Rogan or, so there would be pressure whether you like it or not. So I reckon that would have been cool to play with Rory, but it would have been cool to play with him when you're running 30th halfway through the year sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of enjoy it. Not many guys play with Rory first up, or like it would have been Tiger in the old days, and play really well in that first round with him. So I felt for Dan a little bit there, as cool as that was. And he eagled, I think he eagled the last playing with Rory to kind of get him back on track a little bit and give him a chance. And that final round I had the leaderboard going, I had Sky Go going, I had the updated the standings as they were changing. I was I was texting with Luke Mackey, who we had on the pod a while ago, who was on a plane coming back from the event. He left on the Sunday morning, and we were trying to do the maths, and it was chaos. So from that point of view, it was probably pretty bittersweet for Dan, eh?
Definitely. And I'll touch on one point first. It's interesting thinking about how he may have felt playing with Rory. If you meet someone you look up to, all of a sudden you become hypersensitive and hyper aware of everything you're doing. What am I feeling? Oh, does this look weird? Am I doing something weird? Whereas Rory is just, oh, hey mate, cool. Yeah, I'm going to play my own ball and not talk to you for the rest of the day potentially. It's no different to Rory. And how that impacts your game. Like we've talked a little bit about when you look at Whoop data or your how your body responds to things. That would be interesting to see. Was it just a little bit higher than the rest of the week because of that? And take away the 70-80% of the fans are probably out there watching Rory and by default watching you as well.
Yeah, I saw Dan. I don't know who started it, but they got into conversation pretty quickly walking off that first tee.
Oh, yeah.
And that would be like, I don't know, that'd be a hard conversation to start for Dan. Maybe we're overplaying it. Maybe Dan's like, who gives a shit? It was just Rory. But I doubt it. I still think there'd be a bit of, as you say, a bit of that hyper-awareness or hypersensitivity.
Yeah. And touching on the bittersweet part, so they use a point system, but if you look back, there was a shot, was it in India, where he was on that par 5 and he second shot into the par 5 and hit into the trees and ended up costing him 2 shots. It's hard not to look back through the year and go, oh, if this, if that. Obviously, there's a lot of things that go your way to get into that position too. So as a coach, how would you approach that with a player if, say you were coaching him and he came up to you and he's like, oh, if I just had this, if I could change that one shot. Because it's something I think as sports people you always fall into, oh, if I just caught that pass or if I just held that catch. It's really difficult to to not look at those individual moments. How would you go about that as a coach?
I think you have to be really consistent with what you reflect on and what you're reviewing. And I think John Quinn says you can only review what you preview.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've got to have had intent and a plan around what you're doing. So, I don't know. I think you'd probably stay pretty consistent. Try and look at it as objectively as you could. Were there anything? I mean, you'd start off with what are the things that you're really proud of for the year and what made you so successful. So that back half of the year was pretty impressive from Dan. So it'll be interesting to find out, did anything change? Did anything shift? I reckon he's had a really good mindset for the last little while, which would be interesting to know if that's been intentional. But I don't think you can. When you were talking about the what-ifs, I was thinking back to that Cricket World Cup, the one-day international, when the overthrow hit the bat and goes for four. How do you reflect on that? That's just freaky. And there's other ones with, you think about the 2015 Cricket World Cup, and, McCullum was really aggressive at the start of the innings for us, and it paid off in pretty much every innings. And then he did it against Australia, and it didn't pay off, and people are like, oh, I shouldn't have done it. But, that's where you kind of just got to go, you stick to what you believe in to be true, and sometimes it didn't work. The challenge, I think, would be the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour finished last week, and it starts again next week at the Aussie PGA. Wow. Like the first event of the tour starts next week. So, you spend the whole back half of that year, up the top of the leaderboard in terms of the rankings, and now you're back level with everyone.
With everyone else.
You are on zero. And that must be hard. Like, how do you get yourself up for that to go, was that my only chance? But I think Dan probably had enough evidence to go, no, you did that pretty comfortably with what you can do. So hopefully that kicks on.
Looking at it from another point of view is how many things in life do we think are a disaster or don't go the way we want, and you look back and you're like, oh, wow, I'm glad that turned out that way. Is it one of those ones where he now has the year of his life, wins 5 events and secures his PGA Tour card, no stress next year? Other good things happen because he's in Europe. That's quite a cool way to look at it too, is like, man, this is an opportunity to go, and I'm familiar with all the courses. I'm not starting again on the PGA Tour, all these new courses as the newbie. I'm sort of well known now. Now I'm the guy that people come and go, oh, I'm playing with Dan this week. So that's a cool way to look at it as well, I think.
Yeah. It's like the Chinese farmer, eh?
Yeah.
That Chinese farmer story, which is pretty cool. I think the other thing, though, sometimes that, as you say there, like that, not that it was a failure by any stretch, but that setback, and it wasn't even really a setback because he's still got a DP World Tour card, one of the best ones you can have from where he's finished. But it makes you reflect possibly harder than it does. When you lose, you reflect a little bit harder than it does when you win. So if he gets his card, he probably just carries on, but he probably takes a bit more of a microscope to his game as a result of this, and therefore may accelerate his development. Who knows? We'll be able to chat about we should review this podcast this time next year.
We'll have a prediction and then see how it pans out. What about from Kazuma's point of view? Do you think it's a good thing that Dan didn't get his card for Kazuma? Another year playing with his mate?
Yeah, I think that'll be nice. It's one silver lining, certainly, for Kazuma. And he would have loved Dan to get his card, for sure. There are a few of them that hang out together, some Kiwis and Aussies, and then a couple of Irishmen that spend a bit of time together. So, that'll be good for Kazuma because he's, that's his first year finding his feet, trying to learn the ropes. And I know that Dan's been a really nice influence for him, helping him out with some of the away from the golf course sort of things that you take for granted after you've been there a few years. But Kazuma's still trying to find out and learn. And so, he'll be chuffed. And as the same thing, like he would have been stoked for Dan, and Dan would have had Foxy if he went to the PGA Tour. He would have had Foxy to take him under his wing, like Foxy did when Dan first got on the DP World Tour. So hopefully it's a cycle, and Dan can do this for Kazuma, and the next year Foxy can do it for Dan, and then Kazuma can, hopefully Sam Jones elevates from the Hotel Planner Tour onto the DP, and Kazuma can, although Sam's had a year on DP as well, but yeah.
So
I think
Kazuma
Kazuma
getting
would be
on,
pretty chuffed with his year, though.
yeah, get him getting into the final event. That's pretty impressive in itself. That would have been a pretty cool experience and not one that he potentially expected a few months ago.
Yeah, it's he had a couple of good finishes. Obviously, that second place at the British Masters jumped him up there and I guess helped out with that rankings piece and sort of secured his card for the year. Even just that, I think, in your first year to secure your card is a really good goal, and then to get to that tournament in Abu Dhabi, the top 70, that's a bonus. And then to get to the final, because when you're a rookie, you don't have the status that, say, a player like Dan has, where you can pick and choose where you play and you get all the big money events. Yep. Kazuma didn't get into some of the bigger events, so to compete with those guys off his limited schedule, not a massively limited schedule, but a little bit of a limited schedule was pretty cool. But the same thing, he hasn't got much time to review. He's back in action next week.
Back at the Aussie PGA, yeah. So what status does he have now? Did he get an upgrade in status by making it to the final?
I would have assumed so. Yeah, I don't keep up massively with that side of things, but yeah, I'd say that if you're top 50 on the order of merit, you're pretty much guaranteed. I would imagine you're pretty much guaranteed everything.
Nice.
I did make that up though, Scott.
And Sam Jones was on the Hotel Planners Tour this year, but had a season on the DP World Tour. Just missed out again. He got relatively close with the last few events. Didn't quite make the finishes that he needed to. So probably a little bit bittersweet as well. So he gets to maintain his status on the Hotel Planners, but would have loved to have been up there in the DP, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think a challenge for Sam, same sort of thing as Dan, right? But maybe not quite the safety net that Dan has. Got off to a really quick start and then sort of struggled a little bit at the back end of the year. But I think we'll see some pretty cool things from Sam. Again, that's the whole thing about, now I've got to start again and do it again and get myself into that position. But I think Sam's in a really good place mentally, and technically he's always pretty sound. Tactically he's pretty sound. Not that he hasn't been mentally, but I think he's in a really strong place. So I'm quite excited about what we might see from him in the coming 12 months.
Sam put up a pretty cool post where he wasn't scoring great, but he said he felt really comfortable with where his game was at. And it was quite cool to see because you could reflect on that pretty quickly and be like, I missed out, game's not feeling well. But it looked like he was really enjoying his golf, which is a pretty cool perspective to have after you've just missed out on one of your major goals for the year.
Yeah, I think he's intrigued by it. I think, the whole challenge that we all know of golf is finding that balance where you get everything coming together. I think he's intrigued as to how he can leverage that. He's hitting it well. His understanding of himself's growing. His understanding of golf's growing. Needs a few opportunities. I mean, he hasn't got a start this week at the Aussie PGA, so he's trying to Monday qualify. He is currently playing in the Queensland PGA.
Yep. What would he need to finish in that to get a start next week?
To win, I think.
Just a winner? Yep.
I think he needed to win. He started with 3 pars today. Currently running 22nd equal, but he's 3 under and the leader is 12. So
yeah, and that's in the last round.
That last round, yeah. So bit of a challenge. I'm not sure. But Monday qualifying is a funny thing. You just got to go out and try and shoot 64 and hope that that's good enough. And you never know. Sometimes you do hear the fairy tale stories. As I said, I think he's in a pretty good space. The field's pretty strong at the PGA and again the following week at the Aussie Open. So it should be a pretty good event. Be cool for him to get in.
It would be cool because while the field may be strong, it's probably a more familiar environment than, say, qualifying for one of the majors, obviously, or even for a DP World Tour event. It's kind of in his backyard in Aussie, and he'd be familiar with a lot of the players who do have starts. So I imagine he'll be a lot more comfortable if he did manage to Monday qualify. Than if
yeah, and he's played it the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So
we'll transition now over to the ladies. Mrs. Consistent, Lydia Ko, up there again in the LPGA Tour. She's in the season ending event this week, I think. 1 win earlier this year. Who else have we got out on the ladies' tours?
So Fiona Xu was with Lydia this year on the LPGA. She unfortunately didn't keep her card, so she'll drop back to the Epsom Tour, which is obviously just the tour below, and that's how she got her card onto the LPGA, by finishing top 10 on that tour. So hopefully that's Fiona's plan for this year. Then Momoka Kobori, Kazuma's older sister, she's also on the European Tour, just the ladies' European Tour. She's 37th in the order of merit, and Amelia Garvey from Christchurch is 12th on the order of merit on the ladies' European Tour. So pretty cool for this year. In terms of golf in New Zealand, if you go, you got Foxy on the PGA Tour. Stevie Elka's doing Stevie Elka things. But Foxy on the PGA Tour, Dan and Kazuma making it to the finals, final series of the European Tour. Then you got Lydia and Fiona on the LPGA Tour, and Amelia and Momoka, like Dan and Kazuma, doing really well in the finals of the European Tour. So pretty cool place to be. Pretty strong. Actually, yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Golf seems like it's in a strong place in the country as it is, with participation numbers being relatively high, potentially the highest they've ever been in the country. On that, though, you have been lucky enough to work with most, if not all, of those players as they've come through the academy over the years. Is there anything special that's sort of stood out over the past 10 or so years when they would have been coming through that maybe pointed to having a large number of them all on the tour at the same time?
No, it's one of the things I just thought then as well. Juliana Hung, also on the Epsom Tour, and she's, sort of flies under the radar a little bit. So she's going really well. She's 53rd on the order of merit there, so not quite good enough to get her LPGA card, but Fiona will join her next year on the Epsom. I think it's one of those things which I'll often talk about at our national camp, and you and I have probably spoken about it before, but if we look through our history, certainly in the men's game, since 1980, had a number of players win on major tours around the world, being the European Tour or the PGA Tour. Frank Nobilo, Greg Turner, Grant Waite, and Craig Perks. They all played for New Zealand between 78 and 81. So you kind of think, that's unreal. Like 4 of our best players played in the same block. And then the next little iteration of winners was Michael Campbell, Phil Tatarangi, Mark Brown, Steve Elka. They all played for New Zealand between 1990 to 1994. And then in the shadow of that, you also had Tim Wilkinson, who's been on the PGA Tour for a long time, playing in that same era. And then jump forward a few years and you've got Danny Lee, Ryan Fox, Lydia Ko, who all played for New Zealand between probably 2008, 2011. And then more recently, you look at the current crop of Dan, Kazuma, Sam, Fiona, Momoka, Amelia, they all came through together. So I think it's that rising tide lifts all ships. And I think the other thing that helps now is that we can see them, and we can, like Foxy comes back and plays, Charles Tour's event, which is so cool. So you're not just like growing up, Frank Nobilo and Greg Turner when I was young, with 2 guys that led the way. And they came back for New Zealand Opens, but they were superstars, like you didn't get up close and personal with them. I think one cool thing is that when Kazuma comes back, he plays with the local young players down in Canterbury and does a bit with Canterbury Golf. Foxy's awesome when he comes back. He's desperate to just play with the young players, and same with Dan. And Lydia's unbelievable and always has been with giving back with her time, although she keeps that under the radar. So I think that helps, like you can actually go, they're just humans like me. They came from the same shit little town or, golf course that I played at. That means I can make it. I don't need to be anything special. So I think that helps. But yeah, that rising tide, I think, lifts all ships. Yeah.
I'm not sure if we have any listeners, Jay, but hypothetically, if we did, and if they were thinking of how do we grow potentially a junior program at my club or an academy within their region or something like that, how would you go about that? Is there something you can manipulate or artificially sort of grow, or is it something that happens by accident, where all these players sort of come through and happen to be at a competitive level with each other at the same time?
Yeah, it's a great question. If I knew the answer, I'd probably create it. I think it's the other bit comes first. It's a bit of the chicken or the egg, but the whole, if you build it, they will come. But I think if you were going to try and build something, I would just, and this is going to sound a bit woke and a bit bloody balance is better, but which is lovely, by the way. But I would just go, how can I give young players as many playing opportunities as I can? I wouldn't get hell bent on the coaching side of it, which probably seems like an odd thing to say, but I'd just go, how can we help them play heaps and then find out their way of doing it, and then as they progress, potentially start to try and assist them. But I think the one thing that a lot of players struggle with nowadays is course access, because the courses are so busy. And so that would be the biggest thing. And a lot of driving ranges now, as good as the technology is, but you're hitting off mats and sometimes into simulators and stuff. I'm not sure that's quite the same as, it's part of it, and it's a good part. But I think there's something to be said for hitting off grass and playing golf and making decisions. So yeah, Foxy plays heaps. He doesn't practice much, but relative to the level that he's at, he just plays. And I think it can be a bit of a lost art with some of the younger players. Cool. But yeah, I don't know the answer.
No, I didn't expect you to. Just interested to hear your thoughts. So there's something we've sort of chatted about while we were away a couple of weeks playing our tournament, and someone that we like listening to and like their work, Derek Sivers, he came up as a topic of conversation, and he has a book called Useful, Not True. And we started riffing on some golf ideas that, especially as coaches, we hear that are potentially useful but not true. So we've got a little category here, and we are taking this straight from Derek, so thanks, Derek, for that. We're also going to make a couple of other categories on that. So there could be true and not useful. There could be untrue and not useful. But we're going to riff a little bit on that. So I've got a couple that we have written down that we can discuss. The first one is, my putt has to get to the hole, and various ways of saying that: never up, never in, don't leave it short. Useful, not true?
Yeah, is it useful? Or is it true but not useful? You know, never up, never in, I guess that bit's true.
That's true.
It's just not that useful.
Yeah, it's probably true, not useful.
Yeah.
True, not useful. So let's talk a little bit about that. So there is you have a birdie putt and you leave it short. Oh, what are you doing? You can't leave it short. You've got to give it a chance. My initial thoughts when I first heard this a few years ago was like, well, if you hit it offline, you didn't give it a chance anyway. So it was like, you can't just pick speed as the only way to give it a chance. But Scott Fawcett's done some cool stuff on capture speed and the speed the ball travels as it goes into the hole or past the hole changes the effective size of the hole. So giving it a chance makes the hole effectively smaller. So think about driving over a pothole. If you don't want to go into that pothole at all, you should go as fast as you can, because you'll probably go straight over top of it. If you want to go into that pothole, go really slowly and you'll drop right in. So if you give it a chance and say, I'll just hit it 5 feet past to make sure I get it there, that 4-inch hole effectively goes to like 1 inch. So you better hit the dead center of that. Have you got any thoughts to add to that one there?
I think it's 4 feet, isn't it? It makes the hole 1 inch.
Yeah, it might be that. Yeah,
and I love the pothole analogy. That's outstanding. I've not heard that before. And that's exactly right. Like your capture speed is critical. And the other one, like you were saying, what do they say? 99% of putts that are short never go in. Well, 99% of putts that go past the hole never go in either. So you might get the occasional one that rolls backwards, but. And I like the work of Scott Fawcett, how he does have like if you're trying to hit every putt 2 feet past or 18 inches past, well, then you've got that margin of error, which you're now putting everything. You're hitting your worst putt a further 18 inches past, or your hardest putt further 18 inches past. So that I reckon that is, the never up, never in is true, but not useful.
Not useful. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one I've got for you is aim small, miss small.
I think it depends on the human. I would say, I think that depends, because I reckon scientifically has been debunked as a concept. So then you'd kind of go not true. But then if someone uses it and it works for them, is it then still not true? Like if it's true for them? So then it's true and useful. Or maybe it's not true but useful because it works.
So it could be in all of them.
Could be in all of them, because I think it was actually Sam Jones maybe was saying that he struggles, like the smaller the target, the worse he plays, because I think it's Sam, feels pressure and a bit of anxiety about it's got to hit that small target rather than just letting go. And so, I don't know. What do you reckon about that one?
I think it probably fits into the useful, not true for me.
Yeah.
I think it's useful because the aim small part it gives you a tighter focus and I think some clarity around the target. Not necessarily if I aim for that little branch there, then it means if I miss it, it's only going to miss by that much, because that part's not true. Your miss is still going to be the same, but I think the useful part of it is pick a small specific target, because then you're probably likely to have more clarity around that rather than just hit the fairway. There's not much clarity there.
Yeah, I like that.
Next one is, so this came up in one of my beginner coaching sessions, and one of the girls came up and said, I learned this the other day. If you stand on the club head, the angle the shaft goes up is where it's going to launch, and it's going to give you the launch angle. She was really excited about it, and in this situation, it was useful, although it's not true. So there's a lot of things that go into how the ball launches. There's the debris between the club face and the ball. There's the shaft lean. There's the angle of the tack. So it's not true, because if your 7-iron has, what's 7-iron, about 34 degrees aloft, something like that. I might use a different example. So if you have your sandwich at 56 degrees of loft, it's not going to come off at 56 degrees. There's a lot of things that go into that. But if you're a beginner golfer and you don't know if your club can get over that tree or not, it's probably a really good place to start, to go, well, my 4-iron's going to go straight into the middle of it, but my sandwich is going to go over the top. So that's a good place to start. So I think that's useful, not true. Anything to add there?
I like it. The only thing I was thinking, if you're a beginner and you're trying to work out if you can hit it over the tree, I'd just say just chip outside, get it back on the fairway. Not even if you're a beginner. I saw a stat the other day that can't remember who put it up, but like the amount of, I want to say PGA Tour players make bogey 80% of the time when they're in the trees or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so, possibly everyone should be chipping out and not trying to hit their 4-iron over a tree. But that definitely sounds like useful, not true. Nice. Useful, not true.
Cool. And one more I've got here. My 7-iron goes 150 meters.
Yeah. Same thing. I think that is useful, not true. Well, it might. You've got some good thoughts on this one, I reckon.
I think a lot of people think in specific numbers when they talk about yardages. And they're like, my 7-iron goes 150, my 6-iron goes 160, my 8-iron goes 140, and they have these nice, perfectly spaced out gaps. I wish a lot more people would think in ranges rather than specific numbers, because the conditions change from the start of the round to the end of the round with the temperature or air pressure not as much, humidity a little bit. The lie you're hitting off has a big impact of that. If you're hitting it from the rough, or if you're hitting it from a tee, or if you're hitting it off tight turf, rather than think about a specific number, think in ranges. So my 7-iron goes somewhere between 145 if it's a little bit cool, or I don't strike it perfectly. I'm going to take out the complete mishit, anywhere up to 165. So it's going to go somewhere in that. And then where does that fit onto the target that I'm trying to hit? If there's water at 155, then and water behind the green at 155 and beyond, then it's probably best to hit my 8-iron to guarantee that none of them are going to go in the water, rather than hit my 7-iron, which might be, hey, look, 150's at the flag, but then you get the one that comes right off the middle and it flies a bit further and it comes out hot, and all of a sudden you're in the water. Oh, it shouldn't have gone that far. So that's probably my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I think it's Alex. This is the guy that works for Scott Fawcett. Alex Huang Golf, I think. But he says that golf's most underrated skill is not aiming at the flag, or the ability to not aim at the flag. And I think there is something in that, because it is so tempting, and that's to your point there around the, again, to use Scott Fawcett, he's had more mentions than anyone. But that shotgun scattergun approach, try and get as many of your 7-irons on the green as you can, and then go from there. And that's where think that like some of those pins in the last round, that last event on the DP World, man, they were cut tight to the edges of those greens. So yeah, I reckon that is a useful. Is it a useful, not true? Probably is useful, not true.
Useful for a ballpark starting figure,
yeah,
but not true in that you're going to hit all your 7-irons land it on this exact yardage, even if you're in a controlled environment and you feel like you're swinging it as best you've ever swung it.
Yeah,
there's going to be a little bit of variance there too.
Yeah. How do you feel about people that say, one of the runs I had on my list was, if you're more confident, you'll play better?
My story to go with that is, one of the first times, it was the second time actually. The second time I went to Kinloch. The first time, I kind of knew nothing about the place. Went with you and absolutely loved it. And it was a bit of a surprise trip when I was working for you. You took a couple of us down. We didn't know where we were going. Could have been kidnapping us for all we knew. And we arrived at Kinloch and I was like, wow, this place is incredible. And the second time I went there, I was like, this is it. Like, this is going to be the best day I've ever had. And I turned up on the range and it was pristine, and I didn't take one divot. I thinned every single shot, and I had these really high expectations of how I was going to play because it was so pure. I thinned every single shot, and I turned up on the first tee. I was like, I might shoot 100. I cannot hit the ball. And I hit it the best I've ever hit it. I had zero confidence standing on that first tee that I was going to hit it well because of the range session. And I've also had the ones where I've absolutely flushed it on the range, hit every target, and it's coming off pure. You get onto the first hole and you fly it 20 yards past, or you miss the first fairway. It's like, well, Hank, what's going on here? So for me, I don't look into confidence too much. So I think that would fit into the not true, not useful.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, probably the same. And in fact, if you can frame it that way, it gives you a bit of a, you think about the range session or the warm-up session and go, it's literally just to warm up. And if you have your mindset, you can go, that's cool. Then I will just warm up. I won't look too deeply into whether I flush it or whether I chop it on the range, because it genuinely has no. Was it? Did I mention in our last podcast? I don't think I did. What Kazuma said. I think I just told you. So I said to him, "How's your game feeling?" This is on Tuesday, the 4th of November. So the practice round of
the week of,
may have even been Abu Dhabi. Maybe an Abu Dhabi week.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I said, how's your game feeling? His reply was, not terrible. Doesn't really matter how it's feeling, does it? That's one of the learnings I've had. It's not like a university assignment where I can ask for an extension. Regardless, I'm teeing off on Thursday. I'm not going to spend my time trying to feel good. Obviously, if I am feeling good, that's fantastic and I'm not complaining. But I'm teeing off Thursday and I have to make it work. So I was like,
that is outstanding.
That's
Is
cool,
so
eh?
good. Wow.
So cool mindset to go, how's the game feeling? Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Who cares? I've got to tee off. And cool that he's aware of that.
I couldn't have put it quite as eloquently, I don't think, as that. But another recent example for me was the tournament we played a couple of weeks ago. On the range beforehand for the warm-up, I was hitting them poorly. I was fatting some and thinning some. And it was really interesting because I was more concerned about what other people were thinking.
Yeah.
But in my own mind, I was like, it was weird. It didn't worry me at all. For some reason, I thought I'd be fine on the golf course. And I don't know where that came from. I didn't have any evidence to back that up. But I wasn't hitting it that great on there. But I was like, it'll be fine once I get on the course.
Yeah. And it was.
And it was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
I was looking before for that Alex Huang to do him the service of saying his name properly. But he also put another stat up, which, to your point around expectations, I think the other day he said, do you follow him on Instagram?
No.
Okay,
I
good.
will now, though.
Yeah, he's worth a follow. 2025 PGA Tour. This is a quiz. It's a one-question quiz because I've got nothing else prepared. No, I didn't even have this prepared. In 2025, how many putts do you think are made per person from 15 feet and above per event? What's the average?
Per event.
PGA Tour average
feet.
from over 15 feet per event. So in 72 holes, what do you reckon the tour average is over 15 feet?
It's going to be lower than I think. So I'm going to guess 2 per event from 15 feet.
You are very good. It's 1.96.
Wow.
Is the PGA Tour average over 15 feet.
Wow.
That's in 72 holes, but they don't have 72 attempts, obviously.
No.
So the tour average is 28 attempts. So they're still only holing 1.96 out of 28 from 15 feet and over. What do you reckon the worst is?
The worst player?
Yeah, worst.
Or the worst players averaging? Probably less than 1?
Yeah, 0.96.
Wow.
And then the best are 3.04. So that's incredible. Can kind of go, the worst make 1, the average make 2, and the best make 3.
The best players in the world make 3 putts in 72 holes from outside 15 feet.
Yeah, but that's the best that on tour, like the average is 2 putts.
Yeah. That's what I mean. The best in the world are only making 3 in 72 holes.
Yeah.
The amount of guys you'd hit at your local club who hit it to 15, 20 feet all day. Should have made 8 birdies out there today.
Yeah. And then what that does to your mindset, like we've all seen, I think that's the curse of the pure ball striker, because all day they're hitting it to sort of about 15, 20 feet.
Yeah.
And the reality is, if they're at PGA Tour level average, they're going to hold 2 of those.
Yeah. But
when the guy that they're playing with is hitting it to 40 feet and 2-putting and then chipping it to 3 feet and getting it up and down, they think that they can't putt and this other guy holds everything. But when you go, I reckon it's just your brain. And I think that's the curse of the good ball striker. Because sometimes when you look at their data, you're like, your putting's not that bad. You just have a lot longer. You're having longer putts. You're having more mid to long putts than people who are worse ball strikers because they're missing greens and chipping it up to 3 to 6 feet sort of thing.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. I like that.
I was interested in that stat. Hey, going far out. How many birdies per event, based on 72-hole events, do you reckon PGA Tour players make?
7 per event.
15.3.
Per event?
Per event, not per round.
Yeah. I thought
you got to think that the average player...
The average, they'd only make about 2 per round.
Nah, because they'd have to be... I mean, the cuts are well under par. The winning score, like you finished 12 under, you're well off the pace most weeks. So you've got to make
Yeah.
probably 15 birdies to
Yeah,
be 12 under.
I guess because the worst players too, they only play 2 rounds.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about the guys who also shoot 5 over, 4 over, and miss the cut, and only make 1 birdie throughout the
Yeah.
2
I
rounds.
don't think
But they
there'd be
only
many
play
of
2
them,
rounds.
though. I wonder what the worst is.
So they make 15 birdies over 4 rounds.
15.3.
Yeah.
On the Corn Ferry Tour, they make 16.9. So they make more birdies per round than PGA Tour, and possibly more bogeys. And then LPGA is 14.1 birdies per round. And then Division 1 college golf is 13 birdies per round. And the men, and 11.2 in the women.
Wow. I'm really interested in the LPGA one, actually. So that's 14.1 over 4 rounds.
Yeah.
So what's that? 3.5 per round? 3.5 birdies per round.
Yep.
Because I'm fascinated by the best male golfers at the club being like, I could take on an LPGA Tour player.
Absolutely no chance.
Can you go out at 4 rounds and play off the white tees, play off the whatever tees you want, and go make 14 birdies in 4 rounds in your own conditions when you're comfortable, not playing in front of crowds, not playing in tournament setup? It's just not going to happen. 14 birdies in 4 rounds.
No, and Lydia would smoke everyone in New Zealand, including our National Academy.
Well, what's interesting is Kazuma Kobori, before she went to the LET, she played a couple of the Pro-Ams, and they said, yeah, that's fine, but you've got to play off the same tees as the men, and she won a couple of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lydia played last year at the Hills, off the blue tees at the Hills, host New Zealand Open golf course.
Yeah.
Just whipped it around in a lazy 4 under par, no drama whatsoever.
Yeah.
Those LPGA players, they are unbelievable.
Yeah.
They'd kick
She also played Taco and Luke Kwan on YouTube and smoked them off the back tees. She was hitting hybrid into most par 4s.
Yeah.
And Nick close. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they're unbelievable.
Nice. I just wanted to point that out. It's very impressive. Have you got any more to add to those?
Any more stats?
Yeah.
Nah. I was just thinking of that one. I saw it come up the other day, and I was like, yeah, that's cool.
That's really good. I've got one more thing to finish with.
Yeah, good.
This is a game for you.
Good.
This is Birdie or Bogey.
Oh, yes, nice.
So we saw Dan playing this the other day. So I've got about 10 here, just quick fire. You can have an explanation if you like, but you don't need to. First one, easy start. I know the answer to this one, but just for our newer listener.
Is there a par? Could go either way, or no pars? Can't sit on the fence.
Nah, can't sit on the fence.
Okay,
birdie or bogey? Head covers for irons.
Bogey. Possibly double.
Good start. Zero torque putters.
I don't know enough about it, but I don't know enough about it. So my initial thought is bogey.
Sim golf.
Birdie.
Ex-professionals getting their amateur status back and playing in amateur competitions.
Bogey.
Putting with a glove on.
Bogey.
Plastic tees.
Absolute bogey, Jim Cusden.
Shouting the clubhouse after you've made a hole in one.
Bogey. I've got a story about that, but carry on.
Walking in putts.
Birdie.
Having the pin in when you're putting.
Bogey.
I think I said this one. Yeah, I think I said that one. You tell us the story about the hole in one. Shouting the clubhouse.
So I played pennants interclub for Miramar and Wellington, and in those days the Duncan Cup was the competition and the clubhouses were full. And there's a couple of layers to the story. One of them was, it was in the day of I think it was the Titleist professional golf ball, and they used to have a seam on them. And for whatever reason, I didn't have my 5-iron in the bag. I think I'd left it somewhere on the range or something. So I only had 6-iron, and the guy that I was playing, and jokingly, the guy that I was playing said, and I wanted to hit 5. The guy that I was playing said, put the ball seam up and just hit your 6. And I was like, we joked about it, and I did. And it was on I think it was the 4th hole at Shandon, which I think they've changed now, the order, but it flew the bunker, so you couldn't see it, but it went in. And then my biggest fear was, oh, hell, now I've got to shout the bar. And I said to a mate, Greg Thurkel, shout out to Greg, who, interestingly, has played the New Zealand Open, albeit as a guest type thing, but he's played New Zealand Open, New Zealand Speed Golf, New Zealand Hickory Open, New Zealand Mini Putt Open.
Wow.
He's played all the New Zealand
That's
Opens.
pretty cool.
Yeah, real cool. Good dude. Anyway, good friend of mine. And I said to him, oh, hey, mate, I can't afford to shout the bar. And he goes, oh, no, it's all good. You just shout and then give the receipt to the club and they'll reimburse you. I was like, oh, I don't think you understand. I've got like $21 in my bank account. I can't shout anyone. To which he thought was quite funny. And then he went, oh, it's all good. I'll get it and I'll just get the money back. And so he shouted the bar. But now I'm not sure if the Miramar Clubhouse is still there, but if you go into the Miramar Clubhouse, they've got a hole-in-one honours board, and it's got Greg Thurkel's name on the honours board because he paid the bill. And every time he gets a hole-in-one now, he puts on Facebook, that's my 6th or 7th hole-in-one, and just tags me in the post. So, yeah. So, yeah, I'm not sure about that shouting the bar afterwards.
Do you know that's probably my biggest fear in golf, is making a hole-in-one on a club day when there's 100 people in the field?
Yeah.
Because I can't afford to shout everyone in the clubhouse.
No,
I want to make a hole-in-one when I'm playing by myself and there's no one around, and I don't have to tell anyone until afterwards.
It's just a dumb thing, eh? Like, it's a bit of a flex, and I don't think many clubs enforce it now, do they? Or do they?
You can get hole-in-one insurance, I know that.
Only at some clubs, I think. I don't think our club does it.
I think about it, it's like buying everybody a present on your birthday.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Everyone should be shouting you, and that'd be far too much to drink, but it should be a shout from everyone else.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure about the hole-in-one thing, eh?
Cool. Okay, we'll finish with this one. I'm not sure how we edit together. All right, and last one. Wearing your hat in the clubhouse in 2025.
Birdie.
Very nice.
Thanks
for playing, Jay.
Yeah, no worries. I'd love to know your answers to those, but I don't know the questions. So irons on the head cover.
Do you want me to go through them?
Yeah.
Okay, walking in putts, birdie.
Yeah.
Iron head covers, bogey, although I have had them in the past.
Yeah.
I now think they're a bogey. Zero torque putters. I'm leaning towards bogey. Again, like you, I don't quite know enough about them, but I'm going to say bogey. Sim golf, birdie. Ex-pros playing in amateur competitions, bogey. At a certain point.
Yeah.
If you're a pro who's never made any money you've been a pro for a year, never made any money, and you got your amateur status back, that's a little different than someone who's played on the PGA Tour, but I don't know where that line is just yet.
Well, I think that's the problem for golf, and I think the best thing to do would be to not have a professional amateur divide. And in tournaments, you either use your handicap or you don't. And if you don't, it's open slather, and if you do, well, pros have like +8 handicaps.
Yeah, I love that. Because I actually wanted to go into that topic today about, is it time to scrap amateur and professional golf and all players one?
100% it is.
I like that statement, just straight to the point. Beautiful. Putting with a glove on, bogey, plastic tees. The right height tees, the ones that have the fat bottom you can only push in so far, bogey.
Yeah.
The other plastic tees that look like the wooden ones, same shape, birdie.
Yeah, fair cool.
Shouting the clubhouse after a hole-in-one, that's a double bogey. And pin in while putting, bogey.
Nice. Pretty much the same.
Not sure how many over par we were, but it's about normal.
Nice.
Cool. Well, thank you, Jay. It was nice to touch on some of the Kiwi golfers playing around the world. We'll try and do a little bit more prep next time, and maybe reach into the college cauldron.
Yeah.
There's a few players over there. We'll try and get a list of names and get some of their progress throughout the season.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Cheers,
See you
brother.
next time.